to another exciting. Actually, wait. One more thing. We scoot up a little over this way? Maybe? Because. Alright, that way we're not getting I'm Kubricking everybody. Alright.
He's Kubricking.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Criterion Watch.
Yay.
I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with
Paul Presenza, otherwise known as the Moo Cow. Moo.
My co-host with the Moostest. And we are here to talk about The Killing.
Speaking of Kubrick.
Yeah, well, this is why I said Kubrick earlier. You'll see that in the outtakes and stuff, the whatnot. But decided, Paul talks about Stanley Kubrick because, as if he's a god and genius and all these fun G words that he uses.
Which he is.
And I am a huge, I'm a huge fan. I like Clockwork Orange is probably one of my favorites of his, and obviously The Shining and whatnot. But I hadn't seen this movie in a while. I bought it because, well, it's Kubrick, and it was 84 minutes, which is pretty, I think 84, 86, 84 minutes. And so, it's pretty fast paced. In fact, it goes by like that.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I was like, when I was trying to pick a movie today, last night, I was looking around, and I had a few to choose from. And first of all, I was looking at running times, because a lot of times I like to make sure we do it shorter, unless we can basically base it out where we have a longer day. So I was like, well, what's a little shorter movie that Paul would be interested in actually watching? Because I do have a few Criterion films that he won't want to really care about and everything, which happens. Criterion can't have everything that everybody loves. It
depends on the movie.
But I chose The Killing, and I knew, and I was like, oh man, Paul might choose this at some point, or want to choose this at some point for his list. But as we talked about today, his list is huge, and he doesn't even own this movie yet.
Right.
So
right. I have it on DVD, but I don't have it on Blu-ray, or Criterion, which I would love to get. It's just,
it did look pretty, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it looked great. Big Kubrick fan. Pretty much love all his movies. Have seen them all. It's not in the top 5 or 6 or even 10, but I still like it a lot.
I don't know. I think it might be in the 10 for me so far.
It has a few little issues. I think I mentioned one or two. For example, the narration really bugs me.
The narration is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Again, if you're going to do less of it, and B, make it more interesting by making it in the character's voice and having limited
even
narration.
Sunset Boulevard did that. When it narrated. So that's actually a really good example of good narration.
Mm-hmm.
But this movie even that movie we did, In a Lonely Place, that didn't really have much narration. Mm-hmm. I don't think it had any.
No.
So, and that was a film noir type movie, and this is a sort of crime film, crime drama,
Yeah, and as a noir, it's kind of late to the game. Most of the noir tropes have already been set in the 40s, and by the mid-late 50s, that it had pretty much kind of run its course. There were still some movies that were coming out, but there was other things going on at the time. But this was just a story that they were able to procure fairly cheaply, and were able to produce fairly cheaply, and they
$10,000.
Yeah, and the fact is that the reason that they got it was the structure of the story told it in a very unique and interesting way, and that's what makes the movie.
Which books can do that. Books can make it where it's different, each chapter can be a different person's point of view or something, and they can tell the same story just through whatever the person. When it comes down to a movie, it's a little harder for people to understand what's going on when you repeat certain scenes. So there's, like you were saying, in the beginning of the movie, you didn't even realize it, and then later it just became more of a...
Although, modern audiences are more used to that now that that sort of film style has been done a number of times. But
especially if they're like Tarantino.
In 1956, there was Rashomon and maybe a couple others, but not much.
And like this movie is sort of Stanley Kubrick's Rashomon. You know, this is his version of that, which we will eventually do on Criterion Watch. Believe me, we'll get through all the Kurosawa films.
Oh yeah,
you know,
definitely.
but we just haven't done that yet.
And he's done a few of his own sort of film noir, hard-bitten criminal kind of movies in Japan as well, which is really interesting. So to have those two parallel would be pretty interesting. But so this one was pretty cool, and I really like it because of Sterling Hayden. I just think that this is a marvelous performance by him, and he's just so good in it.
Every time I see him, I'm just like, I could watch that dude. Like, I was talking about it last night because I was watching his interview. You didn't get a chance to see that yet. Mm-hmm. But he has this interview, and I could listen to him literally talk for like 2 hours straight and just completely be happy with it, you know, because I was in awe of just his voice and his mannerisms. And in this movie, he just, like, I don't know, every time he talked, he just kind of, like, you know.
He commands your attention. He really does.
He's really.
Although, to be honest, thanks to Dr. Strangelove, all I can ever think of Sterling Hayden is him talking about his bodily fluids. I can't help it. That just pops into my head.
Yeah, you had a hard time with that, by the way. Yeah,
Meldrick.
Disgust and everything. He did, like, lots of takes on that one. Just because he couldn't get it right. He couldn't get the words out, you know.
It's funny.
But, you know, I think that was also because he was getting older in age by then. He was just like, you know. But that's the thing. Like, in the time period that they made this movie, nobody knew who Stanley Kubrick was. He was like, Stanley Kramer? You know, right? And they're like, no, Stanley Kubrick. Who? You know? This is he's a, you know, he's a new director. He's an upcoming director. He's going to be awesome. Okay, well, as long as he pays me, I'm fine. You know, like, right? Like, you know, most actors just don't care as long as, you know, you give them the money that they need and pay them their quote. And, you know, they want somebody they can trust and everything. And I think Stanley Kubrick was one of those people that, you know, just knew what he wanted. He was very specific, so specific that he pissed off the camera guy. The DP did not like working with him because
it works, because you can already see Stanley Kubrick's style, you know, especially in shot setups where, you know, you get a lot of stuff that's shot at an angle, so you get to see more depth, and, you know, just the way that he handled the actors and his attention to all the details, and it's just
you didn't complain about any of the details and any of the background or anything. You were like, oh, that's terrible looking. Why do they do that?
Other than, you know, I pointed out a few things that it was like, oh yeah, I've been to racetracks a few times and they look just like that with all kinds of papers strewn all over the place.
Well, I mean, they used a real racetrack in San Francisco. Only racetrack that would allow them to do a heist picture, like, you know, because it was a big no-no back then, because basically you couldn't shoot a movie inside a racetrack that was about a robbery, because
they don't
people
give anyone any ideas.
It would be that, and otherwise people think, oh, this place can be robbed, you know, or whatever, like, or, you know, I'm surprised they did do a lot of those things, because then it does give robbers ideas. Like, watching this movie, somebody could go, let me go rob a racetrack down in New York.
And it worked. You know, it does work, other than what happens after, which is kind of sort of the humorous, if you look at it that way, the sort of black humor.
It's sort of like, we'll talk about it, but sort of like a comedy of errors at some point at the end, because, like, they did count for a lot of things. That was what I really liked about the movie, was how specific, down to, like, every person had a job. You're $5,000 because you're going to shoot a horse. You're, you know, $3,000 because you're going to you cause a riot. Whatever it was, I don't know how much they gave that guy, but, like,
they have every contingency covered. Every little thing that's supposed to happen. The only thing is that they don't expect this weird little old lady with her little poofy poodle in the airport.
We both thought was like my dog Rocky.
It's like she insists on going out to the tarmac so that the dog can watch the airplanes. The dog doesn't give a shit. But she drags it out there, and of course she does that so that the dog can escape. The dog escapes and causes the the baggage guy to lose control. He loses control. The dodgy luggage falls off. And that's how that ends. And it's a fun ending.
And then they get caught. But
Yeah.
he gets caught, and she's like, "You should run," and he's just like, "Yeah."
And I love that part. Where he's like slumping, and you could just see the defeat in the way he's standing there. Is just like, oh. And then it ends. You're not even looking at them. You're looking at the doors where the two detectives come out and they pull out their guns, and then the credits roll. I thought that was really cool. I enjoyed that.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. I this movie really, like, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, this is how you do a crime drama. Like, this is interesting. There's nothing. Everything's sort of like the plot, of the movie. But people are sort of, it almost feels like pre-Quentin Tarantino kind of thing, because it does involve like a bunch of people committing a robbery. So they're all hanging out, talking to each other. Then it goes into, and planning it or whatever, except not all of them didn't have color names, Mr. Brown, Mr. Orange, whatever. But that was a Tarantino thing anyway.
The other thing that does bug me, and I brought this up, is the fact that the ending is sort of predicated on the fact that they have to go to this airplane, even though the guy has the dodgy luggage. Whereas in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the train would have been the safest and most expedient way to go anywhere. And nobody checks your luggage, and you don't have to worry about it. You didn't even have to buy a suitcase. You could just have kept it in the damn sea bag and brought it onto the train with you. You could have set it right next to you. Nobody would have been the wiser, and none of that would have happened. None of that would have ended.
And like you were also saying in the airport, you have to check in your name, which means that gives you away if you get caught with anything. So, but the trains, you don't have to.
No, the conductor comes and asks for your ticket. You give it to them, they click it, and that's it.
I mean, the only reason I think that they did the plane stuff is so that you would get caught at the end,
exactly.
And stuff. So, like, the only mess up he had, but I don't think that's a problem with the movie. I think that's just that's a part of the story,
right? I mean, because if it had been me, I would have said, "Well, this guy's a little smarter than that." I think he would have thought about that, or shit, he could rent a car. I mean, if you've just got $2 million and all your partners are wiped out, shit, buy a car and drive across country and put the damn bag in your suit and in your trunk, and no one will ever see it.
So why did he need to fly? Was he like flying to like?
Need to. That's the
why
thing.
Was he flying to like Brazil or something?
Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, drive.
Shit, exactly.
What? Like nobody like. What? The cops are gonna trace it back to them? Like they had no idea he was part of the robbery.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like he did a great job. Even what is it? He had a mask on, which was hobo mask.
I think that is part of the actual book. I can't 100% be for sure that's why they stuck to it, because
I know the ending was Stanley Kubrick's idea for them to get caught and for them to whatever. I mean,
because he gets killed in the book.
Probably, I would imagine. I don't know. I haven't read the book.
I think that's what the guy was saying, the producer guy.
Okay, so maybe he got killed in the book, but in this movie they wanted something. They wanted a cool ending where he would just get busted, I guess. And the only way they could think about it was if I think the image of seeing all the money flowing in there and them just going, it's
and
over.
Then you bring up a good point, is that in a way the audience sort of needs him to get caught, because otherwise he's kind of a jerk and he gets away with it.
Right.
Is that something we really, I mean, today, I think that would be not a problem. In 1956, I think the studios, even United Artists, would have had a problem with the guy getting away with it scot-free and just living happily ever after, and them saying, well, people are going to have a problem saying that you can get away with stealing things.
I mean, this is post-World War II, but this is like the time period where people are wanting more safer, to feel at home, like crooks are getting caught and everything. Like nowadays, I mean, in real life, crooks are getting away with just anything they want because they know if they get thrown in jail, they're just going to get thrown back out a lot of times, like we live in sort of a society like that now, wherein back then in the time period that this was out, they wanted more, the American audience wanted to see that.
It's funny because not only does the plan go off as planned, it's even more perfect because everybody who knows who did this is dead, and not by him.
He didn't know. He didn't even know that.
He didn't even know that, but he suspects it when he sees George. Yeah, he pretty much can figure that much out. So he knows it's gone to shit. And if everybody's dead, nobody knows he's involved. The only reason that anybody would ever know is because of the damn luggage that he bought, which he didn't have to do because he didn't have to, you know what I mean? It's kind of self-defeating. And, you come this close. All you have to do is that last inch to get it across the goal line, but he blows it, unfortunately, for him.
So the actors that are in this movie, Sterling Hayden, obviously. I talked about him. Colleen Gray was his honey bunny.
So cute.
She was gorgeous. But she didn't really have that big of a part. She was only in like maybe 3 or 4 scenes.
Well, that's her role is to be super cute, and the reason why he's doing all this.
It's true. And then there's Vince Edwards, and I'm guessing do you think that was George? So that would be the only other person I can. Vince Edwards. There's J.C. Flippin.
That's the older guy.
Marie Windsor was the battle axe. She was the lady yelling, and my mom had said she actually knows who Marie Windsor was. She only knew Marie Windsor and Sterling Hayden as far as the actors.
Marie Windsor was a longtime character actor. And
let's see, and Ted DeCorsia, and a screenplay by Stanley Kubrick, with additional dialogue by Jim Thompson. He was the dialogue guy.
Yeah, he knew all those crime novels and was able to do the dialogue like those folks.
Well, he wrote crime novels himself and everything. And then based on the novel Clean Break by Lionel White, and produced by James Harris, who we got to see the a great document.
Funny because you and I both got a lot of Ed Wood whiffs off of this film. Just the black and white stuff, but
that wasn't the Ed Wood stuff.
Later on, Ed Wood was writing that kind of pulpy nonsense too. So he was part of that whole thing. Plus the whole thing with Maurice, the bald French guy, does his wrestling thing act, and he gets his shirt torn off, and he's all hairy, and I'm like, Tor Johnson!
The Academy of Chess and Checkers?
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, it's always chess and checkers, especially chess, is always a big thing in New York City. Usually it's done out in the park. I just didn't know that they used to have actual places where you could go.
Well, it's so
clubs.
Funny because in the movie Chasing Amy, what's his name? Ben Affleck calls Joey Lauren Adams Potzer, and that was from Searching for Bobby Fischer. That was a line in that, and I'm wondering, like, is that because we hear that a lot from that guy? It's, you Potzer, blah 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 Potzer. He said like 3 times, and I was like, right. Hey, that's a Chasing Amy line.
And I believe Kubrick was an avid chess player too.
Probably.
And he probably played a lot in New York City.
Yeah. So he probably knew all these guys, too. Like, all those guys who played chess in the thing were probably his friends who he just, got them to do whatever.
But I couldn't help but think, it wasn't Jailbait. It was, I keep thinking Jailbait, but it's not it. It's Sinister Urge. When we were watching this, just, the battle axe and George being the way he was, and Tor Johnson and everything. It was just we
Tor
wondered.
Was in that one, though,
but we wondered if Ed Wood had watched any Kubrick movies.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about that, and we saw like big guy, and we're like Tor, because he's bald and he's big guy. Harry. And he grabbed, and he did a wrestling move, or he grabbed the guy.
Did a bunch of wrestling moves. It was funny.
It was hilarious. And I was wondering, because 1955 was Bride of the Monster, wondering if Kubrick saw Bride of the Monster, wanted his own tour, But then later, Ed Wood had seen The Killing and did Sinister Urge and put these guys that look like the characters in the in the Killing.
See, only in Indie Film Cafe you're going to see a discussion with Stanley Kubrick and Ed Wood together.
This usually doesn't happen. Kubrick's rolling in his grave.
But I mean,
now.
these are two of my absolute favorite directors on opposite sides of the spectrum. One's incredibly excellent, the other's not so much.
But he's not so much, but he had heart and passion and love. And he did it because he loved it. He didn't do it because he was going to be a millionaire. He wanted to be a millionaire, but he didn't do it because he wanted to be, or he was going to be one. Stanley Kubrick loved it for the filmmaking process and making.
And he's an artist.
He's an artist, and he's really good. I mean, he was a photographer before he was a.
And it's really fascinating when you go back and look at how many directors and cinematographers started off, especially in World War II, but in the 40s and 50s, going to the Army, where you could go into the Army and say, I want to be a photographer. I want to be a filmmaker. And they would say, okay, we will teach you how to do this as long as you serve that purpose in the Army. Because the Army would make their own films and they would have their own photographers and stuff. So they would send you to that school. You would learn all that stuff. This kind of things that you would have to go to grad school or film school in order to pick up. But you got it for free in those days, as long as you did it for the Army. If you were lucky, you did it and not have to actually serve in a war. But that's just awesome. I don't know that happens now, but back then, what a great way to apprentice yourself and pick up all these skills. Ray Dennis Steckler did the same thing. He was a still photographer and picked up how to shoot movies through the Army. There was a number of directors who did that, and they were able to take that skill and take that experience and turn it around and make a living off of that. That's just an amazing thing, and it's just, I don't know that that's the sort of thing that happens now. I probably not, I don't
know, maybe not.
But it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I've never gone to the Army. I'm actually not allowed in the Army. My ear. Because I'm deaf in my left ear and don't have an eardrum. They can't let me in the Army, man. I only know that because I was at a fair once, and I don't know if I told the story before or not, but I was in a fair once, and the Army was there, and they had an Army tank top, and I wanted the Army tank top. They were like, that looks cool, and they're like, all right, you got to do I think it was 5 or 10 push-ups, right? And I had done karate maybe a few years beforehand, or whatever. So it was no problem for me doing 5 to 10 push-ups. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, do I need to be on my knuckles? And they're like, no, just regular 5 military push-ups. You have to get your back straight, whatever. And I did it exactly the way they wanted. And they're like, wow, you're really good. You should join the Army. And I said, well, I'm deaf in my left ear. Is that going to affect everything? And they go, yeah, you can't be here. And I was like, damn, well, that sucks. So I could have been Stanley Kubrick because I'm deaf in my left ear.
There you go. Wow. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if they have those kind of apprenticeships now. I mean, it's probably different, computers and diagnostics and, machine learning stuff. But back then, they didn't really have that kind of technology. But to be able to go for photography or film, I would have considered it back then. I mean, shit, yeah. I mean, it's what a great way to pick up skills and turn that into your career.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so we also learned a little bit through that the producer guy about the beginning of it, and apparently Frank Sinatra wanted the rights to this, but it was taking forever to get back to the people. So the guys were like, well, if you act fast and send us a telegram for $10,000, the rights is yours. And he was like, sure.
And Sinatra never forgave Kubrick for that.
I don't think Sinatra even knew, realized.
Probably not.
Once he was like, oh, somebody else got it? All right. I'll just, because I bet I guarantee for $10,000, he had that kind of money just lying around all the time. He could be like, I'm just going to buy up this property and then buy this property so nobody else can make the movie,
until I'm ready.
Unless I want to make it. Could you have seen Frank Sinatra in that role?
That was at the time where he tried to make every, tough guy kind of role. So, yeah, I could see him trying.
I don't know.
He would probably change it, though. The movie would not have been like that. He would not have wanted it to end like that.
Plus, he would have. The thing was, he wanted the rights, so obviously he wants producer control, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of ego involved with Sinatra.
Well, like technically, there's a lot of ego, with a lot of, you know, producers and people in Hollywood, period, because, you know, everybody wants to kind of control the project or whatever.
And Sinatra would not have allowed Kubrick to shoot the film too. He would have insisted somebody with a bigger name do it,
right?
John Huston or someone.
Yeah, which you know, it would have been a different movie. I think. Like, I feel like because it was $330,000 that they shot it with. That it just has that feel of sort of an independent studio movie. Like, it's still a studio movie, but it still felt independent, you know?
Well, yeah, he had to raise 130 of that himself.
80 that he had and 50 he got from his dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's crazy. Can you imagine going up to your dad and being like, Dad, can I have $50,000?
Especially when the studio says, you know, the first $200K that you get back comes to us. You know, that's going to be part of the deal. So
you have to wait until they get their money back before you get your money back.
And this was pretty much they kind of sat on it for a bit. It became a B-roll. So I don't know if they ever made that money back, did they? I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I just wonder if his borrowed, you know, the money. The producer borrowed money from his dad. I wonder if he ever paid his dad back.
I imagine he got it back in other ways. So yeah.
Yeah, eventually he got to pay his dad back.
It's a gamble when you have to pay your own money. You know what I mean? But I mean, the studio would only give them so much. So
usually they tell you don't put in your own money, and that's now.
Right.
Back then they probably never said that to them because they never. But nowadays people are saying don't put your own money in because, you know, if you're smart, you're gonna know that, you know, you're not gonna get that money back yourself, and so just you might as well do it with investors. I think a lot of other people say the exact opposite, which is you should put money in yourself because then you're investing in yourself and you show other people that.
Or it's sometimes it's the only way the movie gets made. I mean, how would Clerks have been made if he, you know?
No, he spent $27,000 of his own money.
Wow.
You know, I don't know if he could have borrowed that kind of money from like his family or friends or whatever.
It's a lot of work at the Quick Stop.
Yeah. So, and had he, like, you know, had that movie not gone anywhere and it was just sitting on his shelf because nobody wanted it, you know, he would be, that would have been it for Kevin, probably.
I would love to have sat down with Stanley Kubrick and see him react to Clerks. What an interesting discussion that would have been.
Yeah, I'm sure he's seen it because he died in '99, so he saw some of Kevin Smith's stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He probably watched Chasing Amy and was like, hey, I put Potzer in my movie first.
There you go.
But anyway, I don't know. It was a very enjoyable movie. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, and
layers.
What comes with the Blu-ray? What kind of special stuff?
Okay, so first of all, you get this awesome booklet.
Nice.
So you get a little booklet that has, what does it have? It's got two different things in it usually. Let's see, Kubrick's Clockwork by Hayden Guest, on page 8, and then Marie Windsor on the making of the killing.
Oh.
It's the battle axe.
Yeah.
Battle axe, you know.
She speaks.
Yeah, and then she spoke a lot. Do we really need more of her? I liked her character, but her character was rough. But yeah, it says, like, I didn't know I was doing film noir. I thought they were detective stories with low lighting. Even Kubrick in 1955 never used the term film noir, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. So, and it's a Blu-ray. It's not a 4K or anything. And I don't know if they'll put this on 4K. I don't think I'd upgrade to 4K. Just because it looks decent enough on here. And if I upgraded to 4K for everything, you know, like it just.
He's gonna upgrade 4K to everything.
I
then 8K, and then 12K, and 24K.
I just don't know.
He's caught in the loop.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't think so though. I think this is enough for me. Plus my TV's usually already upscale it and everything. So it looks.
But
looks
this comes
pretty.
with Killer's Kiss too, right?
Yes, it comes with Killer's. Okay, let me read the whole thing. New digital restoration with uncompressed monorail soundtrack. New video interview with producer James B. Harris. That's what we watched. Excerpted interviews with actor Sterling Hayden from the French television series Cinemas. New video interview with poet and author Robert Polito about writer Jim Thompson. That was pretty interesting stuff too. Restored high-definition digital transfer of Stanley Kubrick's 1955 noir film, feature film, Killer's Kiss. New video appreciation of Killer's Kiss featuring film critic Jeffrey O'Brien. So you get that. So not only do you get the movie itself, but you get like a little like featurette on just that movie, and then trailers. So that's the let me put it back up. That's The Killing on Criterion. I
Looked great, sounded great.
Yeah, it was a really fun movie. It looked good, sounded good. Everybody had I don't know. It was just something about it that I just really, really enjoyed. I could definitely see myself watching this a lot.
It's a quick pace that helps a lot too.
And especially showing it to people who haven't seen it. I think my family would like to see this movie, and people who are interested in the 1950s kind of films and whatnot, especially early works of Kubrick. This is his third feature film. His first two weren't that well received, but this started it, and then I think right after that he did Paths to Glory, which just launched his career to the next level. So this movie helped it was the starting point to everything else that he did, and I'm very happy that Criterion has it, because I feel like it's a film that sort of would get lost in the shuffle of different things.
It's hard because there are so many really, really top-notch film noir films that even a Stanley Kubrick film noir movie doesn't quite really crack the top 20. But if you look at it as the sort of part of the career of Stanley Kubrick, and you can see where a lot of his later stuff is going to be coming from, just the way that he makes it, the way that he shot it and everything, you're going to like just watching it for that. So if you're a Kubrick fan, you definitely need to see it.
Yeah, if you're a Kubrick fan, you're going to, you should have probably already seen it. But if you're just getting into Stanley Kubrick, I would definitely suggest his other work. I would suggest Clockwork Orange or Shining or Doctor Strangelove, which is also great. We did you did that with Joe and Lenore, I believe, for Doctor Strangelove already.
Yep.
It's a movie I tried watching, and when I watched it a while ago, as before I started getting really into Criterion and stuff, I was watching it with my dad, and I was just like, I don't find any of this funny and whatnot, and I just couldn't get into it. It's a movie that I want to definitely rewatch at some point.
Führer, I can walk.
I have no idea what that means. Then all right.
Oh man.
I'll have to watch it again later, because
yes, it's classic.
I'm definitely gonna buy it at some point in the for my collection and stuff and whatnot. But it's one of those films that it's one of those ones that helped launch 2001: A Space Odyssey. All these movies launched his career kept going to the next level. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He would be almost 100 today if he were, or maybe more. He was born in 1928.
Him and Kurosawa are my two biggest rocks as far as cinema goes.
Yeah, it's funny because he's got those guys, and my biggest one is Hitchcock. So it's really funny that I could have picked a Hitchcock movie for today, and eventually I will again.
He's covering all the Hitchcock movies already with
yeah,
Larry Butler.
We're doing that for a podcast, but I figured the ones on Criterion we could still do for Criterion Watch if we want to add those there, but it won't be for Film Freaks or any of those other ones because
Right.
we're already
I
covering
would
them.
start bringing in maybe Joe or just Jen as some of these. This just proved to them we actually do watch some good films.
I mean, Criterion. I don't think there is a. I mean, there's films that I'm not necessarily like The Big Chill.
Ugh, big shit.
I thought was okay. It wasn't like mind blowing or didn't really like But once again, I need to rewatch it and give it another try. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood at the time for it because I think I was expecting it to be really funny, and it was more like
I
a
find
drama.
it very, very overrated.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like, and the Criterion's going to have some films that, like, Paul will think is overrated as opposed to a lot of other people, a lot of mainstream people love that stuff because they want to bring in movies from, like, it's so funny knowing that, obviously Citizen Kane is on there and deservedly so. But, like, movies like, what is it? Chasing Amy was a Criterion, and so a lot of people would be like, "Why is that?"
Yeah,
a
it
Criterion?
feels like Criterion. I want to say lowered their standards, but it like they let in some other films that that's quite at the same level. Dazed Confused is another one. It's not really at the same.
Slacker
level
is
of-
though. Like
Slacker
Slacker is like one of those movies that.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing. You started bringing in all the Richard Linklater stuff, so you get the Before Sunrise series. You get Boyhood, which I wasn't really a big fan of. I thought it just kind of was too long and kind of. I mean, I get what he was doing and everything, and how cool it was, and how innovative and original. But then I was like, yeah, that can only go so far. After a while, you need to make a good, coherent story that I care about and whatnot. So,
Gee, you just want everything.
yeah, I want a good movie, man. Like, I want a good, solid film.
Where's the Criterion Ed Wood collection?
I don't know. We've been talking about that. I remember you mentioning, where's the Chris Seaver Criterion films? Your Sex Squatch.
Someday.
Sex Squatch will be a Criterion film.
Hire me, Criterion.
No, see, there was a podcast called Shitarian. And that might be more along the lines of what that is. So there you go. But Criterion has a lot of great movies, and then some that different people might argue about or whatever, and some people would say like because you love like Rosemary's Baby and Polanski.
Yeah,
and
the
stuff.
early Polanski movies are really good.
And so that a lot of those would probably be there, but some people might be like kind of bored by that or that's
Well, and then
whatever.
some are just simply owned by other studios, and they just don't want to give it up. Woody Allen's movies, you'd figure most of them would be Criterion, but they're not.
None of them are, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think any.
So yeah, there's a number of things in there. So it all depends on who can get what and who has the rights and all that kind of stuff. Because it used to be that it was Criterion who was sort of saving all of these great classic films and then reintroducing world cinema and independent films out there. But now you've got Kino Lorber and you got Arrow and you got other kinds of stuff.
The Masters of Cinema, which is
Yeah.
in the UK, is the UK Criterion basically,
Yeah.
and they are. I mean, they get some of the most, interesting movies that you would not. The Criterion should be getting, and I don't know if they're doing just exclusive deals with Masters of Cinema, or if if they're doing both. But that's what I would do. Is I would leave it open for others to be able to take as well and do their own version, because some people may not want to get the Criterion, but they might want to get a
And it's the thing
Masters of
is there's only so much money that could be made, which you need in order to get the rights and produce the films, and how many people are buying Criterion DVDs and Blu-rays at this point. Hopefully enough to keep them floating, but I don't know.
Hopefully.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we got Joe Turek. We gotta get Joe Lynn. Or we gotta get Jen to come check these out, because we don't generally get them to talk with us about these amazing good movies. We generally get
Proof we watch good movies too.
Yeah, we do from time to time.
Yeah.
We try. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's hard to find movies that everybody, everybody finds to be really good. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But anyway, I had a fun time with this one. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Well, we kind of spoiled it for you, so that's your fault for listening to this whole thing. And but still watch it. Go watch it.
Yeah,
Go
because you don't watch a movie just to find out what happened. You watch it to enjoy it as an experience.
And this movie is an experience. Like it's something that like throughout the whole thing, even though I've seen it and I knew what the outcome was, I still was wondering what is going to go on, and there are craziness that happens.
It's fun because it's also a little bit of a time capsule for 1956 because some of the hairstyles are super 1950s, housewife kind of stuff. And, the one guy was getting a small room in California for $40 a week. We're like, oh my God. Sandwiches are 25 cents, that kind of stuff.
Something else was 25 cents. The parking was 25 cents.
Mm-hmm.
That parking guy, by the way.
Oh, man, yeah.
Man.
There was some interesting subtext going on, too.
Yeah, you said there was a lot of homosexual subtext.
I think it could be read into these days. I don't think it was there on purpose, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way some of the things were. Like the one guy where he was like, can't we just go away together someplace? And we were like...
To the guy, to Sterling
Yeah,
Hayden.
Sterling Hayden. And we're all like, oh, that went a weird way.
Yeah, he's like, let's just go to Boston together, man, or something like that. I'm like, oh, all right.
Because he's like in bed in his pajamas at the same time.
And Sterling Hayden's like, just go back to bed.
Yeah, goofy guy. You.
Yeah,
It's funny.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but go back to bed.
Yeah, it's just
you
funny.
You need some sleep. You're not... Here's a Snickers. You're not yourself right now.
Funny.
But yeah, it was pretty clever and funny, and I was very happy with it. Like I was happy I picked it. I was happy I rewatched it, and I'm happy that you guys are able to hear us talk about it and whatnot. And so, please, if you get a chance to go check this movie out, do. Criterion every July and every November has a Barnes and Noble sale and everything, and this for $20, you're not going to get a better deal.
And don't they rarely do like a pop up every now and again too?
They do a flash sale that
sale.
the website site has. I think it was supposed to happen, and this is March. Yeah, so it was supposed to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So I don't know if that's just like they're just waiting for the right time or something.
Yeah, and sometimes it's better because I know if when I go to Barnes & Noble, I notice it's kind of the same criterions that are there from the last time.
The flash sale is actually from the Criterion website itself.
Yeah.
So you would get it from there. But the actual... and the beauty of the Barnes & Noble stuff is that you can actually get... one second. You can get the... Barnes and Noble stuff online as well. So say you go to your store and you're like, I want this Criterion film, and the store doesn't have it, right, or whatever, can't get it.
They'll order it for you.
No, you can get it online. You have it shipped to you or whatever. And I think after if you buy something worth $25 or more, shipping is free. So it's definitely worth, especially if you're buying 3 or 4 movies or something from there. It's definitely worth it.
I mean, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of titles, so trust me, you're gonna find something.
Exactly, and so I totally recommend it. If you haven't had a chance to go do it, please do. I mean, I myself will be spending way too much money at the sales coming up because I love my Criterion and I want to collect as many. I want to collect as many as possible. He's a little bit more selective, but I want to collect. I want to eventually. My macro goal is to have every single, every single Criterion film ever made.
Good luck with that.
I know.
On the other hand,
take forever.
I'm happy enough to have all the Kubrick films. So
yeah,
there you go.
Not
all of them are Criterion. Unfortunately, they should be, but
and there are different collectors. Some collectors are kind of like you, are very selective, and they watch. They watch the movie and then they decide, do I want to keep this or give it a
certain directors, Kurosawa, I'll collect everything. Ingmar Bergman, I'll collect everything. But
and those things. And then there are certain people like me who just really want to have a library where we have almost every movie, and if somebody wants to come over and watch something, funny thing is I just don't have time to have people come over and watch it yet. But when I get some time and stuff, and I'm like, hey, you want to watch a movie, I got plenty to fucking choose from, and it might not be something I planned or whatever, kind of thing, or whatever I pick myself. It might be something somebody else wants to pick. So, I mean, it's always good to have a collection.
Sure.
Period. And so there you go. The Criterion Collection. The Killing is something that we highly, highly recommend. So if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, go see it. You won't regret it.
2 hooves up.
2 hooves up for him. 2 thumbs up for me. But until then, everybody, we'll be back next month with Paul's movie. I have no idea what he's gonna pick yet, but
Me either.
I don't think he knows either. And then we'll just keep doing this until I think we got. I think we'll have like 10 to 12 episodes this season. I think 12 maybe episodes this season. So
sounds good.
See how it goes. Until then, everybody. Bye.
Red sauce and meatballs.
Hey, everybody. Actually, wait. One more thing. Can we get a little higher on you? Because you're like, some of your head is getting cut off.
So you need something with a book or something to sit on?
Maybe. Is this too
More than that. Yeah, I need more than that.
small? How about your that thing? Will that thing work?
Yeah, it's too thin. This is thicker.
That's what she said. How's that looking?
All right. It's got all of me. Except the corners now. There we go. A little more. Little more. There you go. Now the corner's gone.
Now the corner's gone. This is how we do it, folks. This is the live version of how we do it.
Moo, moo, moo.